Put Your Ass Where Your Heart Wants to Be by Stephen Pressfield. Who is this book for? What sort of a person is a book called Put Your Ass Where Your Heart Wants to Be for? It's for writers and artists and actors and Instagram chefs and podcasters and filmmakers and choreographers and video game creators and every kind of entrepreneur. Whether your game is startups or nonprofits or your new Thai fusion restaurant. What keeps us from writing or dancing or painting? If the process is as straightforward as we just described it, what's the big hangup? Why doesn't everyone do it? In one four-letter word, fear. Yes, we're terrified to begin our 800-page Elizabethan family saga. When we sit over our morning coffee thinking about it, our palms sweat, our heart palpitates in dread. Get up, go to your office. Don't stop to schmooze with your spouse to the dude in the next cubicle. Sit down, open your file, place your fingers on the keyboard. Okay, we're accepting the idea of sitting down at the piano or of planting ourselves in the editing suite, of taking the train to our dance studio. Now let's take the principle a step further. Leave the town or city where you live and move to the hub of the creative or entrepreneurial world where your dreams are most likely to be and to come true. The ego believes that the material world, the material plane upon which it exists is the only reality. The ego believes that time and space are real. The ego believes it is housed within a physical body. The ego knows that it will die. The ego knows that it can be hurt, maimed, mutilated. Because of these, the ego experiences fear. The ego believes it is separate from every other ego. The ego believes it can take an action that harms another person, and the ego, will be immune from that harm. The primary emotion of the ego is fear. Oxford is where Faulkner lived all his life. Stephen King resides in Maine and Sarasota, Florida. Anne Rice never left New Orleans or Rancho Mirage, California. So let me modify the statement of the previous chapters. Let's carve out a special exemption for writers and other artists who can do their work in rustic cabins, poolside villas, and other abodes of seclusion and solitude. We'll give their physical bodies a pass. But what about their metaphorical bodies? These, I will make the case, have moved to the epicenter of their dreams. Level one of Put Your Ass Where Your Heart Wants to Be is the physical dimension. Sit your body down in front of the keyboard, or move your physical self to the city where your dream is most likely to find its home. Level two, however, is about the inner body, the metaphorical self. It means move to the Paris, London, New York in your mind. That, I venture to presume, has been done by Faulkner and Stephen King and Anne Rice. They have, in the metaphorical dimension, packed up baggage and moved to that place in their hearts where their dream resides. Depth of commitment. Are you there or are you somewhere else? Film director Frank Oz, who's also the Muppet master behind Yoda and Miss Piggy, has a term for this in all in state of mind. He calls it going the distance. This is the test Frank applies at the start of any project, not just to himself, but to anyone he will prospectively hire or collaborate with on a movie or play, whatever. Frank asks himself, will this person commit unconditionally to the work? Is this someone I can count on in Act 3 when the wheels come off and the faint of heart flee for the exits? Is this someone who will have my back in crunch time? We're talking now about the third level meaning of put your ass where your heart wants to be. Commitment over time. Commitment in the face of adversity. When a movie director like Frank Oz takes on a project, he's projecting a 2 or 3 year commitment. He knows talent will not carry a collaborator for that far. He wants troopers on his crew who will hang in no matter what and no matter how long. When you watch the credits on a picture by Joel and Ethan Coen or Quentin Tarantino or Martin Scorsese or any top enterpriser in any field, you'll often see the same names. Why? Because the director has found his team. Through trial and error and time and grade, he or she has assembled a crew she can count on. Why is every Scorsese film edited by Thelma Schoonmaker? Why does Woody Allen work again and again with Jack Rollins and Santo Loquesto? These artists know their handpicked homies will be standing tall at midnight on doomsday. Questions for ourselves. How much do we want it? What sacrifices are we willing to make to see this project succeed? Have we moved lock, stock, and barrel to our inner Paris? Commitment equals power. The positive face of commitment is self-empowerment. The very act of putting our ass where our heart wants to be makes a profound impression, not just on those we wish to work with or be mentored by, but on ourselves. When we shoulder our sea bag and stride up the gangplank of the Nina, the Pinta, or the Santa Maria, something changes inside us. We may not feel it in the moment because our knees are knocking too violently, but somewhere deep in our DNA, a chemical transformation is taking place. Are you familiar with the concept of the hero's journey? In myth and legend, when the hero commits to an intention by taking bold action, he enacts a cosmic overthrow. He crosses the threshold, like Luke Skywalker heading with Obi-Wan Kenobi for Mos Eisley spaceport, or Dorothy being swept away from Kansas by a cyclone. The hero moves from the ordinary world to the extraordinary world. She has gone from the known to the unknown. Suddenly, our hero sees herself differently. She can't help it. In Wonder Woman, the person Diana was when she followed her call and departed from her home on Themyscira is not the same person who had dwelt on the blessed island since she was a child. She is different now, and she knows it. Commitment equals risk. There's a term in mountaineering called exposure. To be exposed means to be in a position where we can fall, possibly a long way, possibly to our death. Exposure has an interesting twist. We can be 10 meters from the summit of Everest, but if there's a nice wide shelf 2 feet beneath us, we're not exposed. On the other hand, if we're only 20 feet above sea level, but there's nothing but thin air beneath us, we're exposed. Commitment equals exposure. That's why people don't commit. They're not stupid. They don't want to risk falling off the mountain. It is not an idle or airy-fairy proposition to declare that the universe responds to the hero or heroine who takes action and commits. It responds positively. It comes to the hero's aid. Here's my frame of mind as I sit down to work. This is the day. There is no other day. This is the day. In other words, I release every thought that smacks of, maybe we can do this some other time. There is no other time. Today is the Super Bowl. Today is the day I give birth. Today is the way. This is the way I die. This is the job. There is no other job. This is the job. Fortune favors the bold. The seminal act of every pitched battle fought by Alexander the Great was his headlong charge, mounted on his great war horse, into the teeth of the enemy. Alexander wore distinctive armor and a double-plumed helmet so that his rush at the head of his 1,600 strong companion cavalry would be missed by no one on the field. Why did Alexander risk his life like this? First, and most certainly to inspire his men. Alexander believed that the sight of their king charging fearlessly at the foe would compel the warriors of his own phalanx and auxiliary cavalry to emulation, that they would follow their champion's example and attack with equal fire and passion. But Alexander believed something greater. His conviction was that heaven, witnessing his act of valor and fearlessness, would be compelled to act as well. The heart of Zeus, or whatever we might call chance, luck, and fortune, could not look on unmoved. The higher dimension would intervene somehow, some way in Alexander's favor. Fortune, Alexander believed, favors the brave and the bold. What does all this have to do with you and me on planet Earth? It means that putting our ass where our heart wants to be is the equivalent of Alexander charging into the breach at the Granicus River or the Issus or the Gaugamela. We too are risking all. We too hold nothing back. We too have hurled ourselves headlong into the unknown. Heaven sees us. The muse knows. You, the stand-up comic, suddenly find yourself entering areas of politics success you never thought you could. You, the screenwriter, discover your two-person love story expanding into a multi-generational epic. You, the dancer, the third baseman, the wide receiver, find you can play through that plantar fasciitis or that tweaked hamstring. You believe heaven notices. The universe is not indifferent. Let me start this chapter with what may seem like an overstatement. For writers and artists, the ability to self-reinforce is more important than talent. What exactly is reinforcement? It's when your coach or mentor tugs you aside and tells you how well you're doing, how proud of you they are, and how certain they are that ultimate success will be yours if you just stay who you are and keep doing what you're doing. That's reinforcement. Can you tell yourself that without a coach, without a mentor? Can you be your own coach and mentor? That's self-reinforcement. When we say put your ass where your heart wants to be, we also mean keep it there. Self-reinforcement keeps us there. It keeps us committed over the long haul. I'll say it again. For writers and artists, the ability to reinforce is more important than talent.